I want you to picture something for a second. It's a scenario that probably keeps security experts up at night, but it's actually happening in coffee shops, libraries, right now.
Okay.
Imagine a laptop. It's left open on a table. The owner just stepped away. It's unlocked. And on that screen, it's not a spreadsheet. It's not a term paper.
It's a database. A database with the deepest secrets of 500 strangers.
Mhm.
We're talking about everything from substance abuse history to severe mental health
The
struggles.
kind of stuff you wouldn't even tell your closest friend.
Exactly.
And here's the kicker. That laptop is completely unencrypted. Anyone could sit down, plug in a USB drive, and just walk away with all of it. It sounds like something out of a thriller, you know?
It really does. But it's a very real, very frightening example of research ethics and gone horribly wrong.
Which is why we're diving into this today. The topic is ethics in social and educational research, and it's not as dry as it sounds.
No, I think people hear ethics and they immediately zone out. They think of forms and committees and red tape. But the source we're analyzing today, a presentation by Dr. Ali Akbar, shows it's really about power. It's about trust.
And about the potential to destroy lives if you get it wrong. That's our mission for this deep dive, to get beyond the paperwork and look at the human stakes. We've got a case study coming up.
Oh, the Dr. Sarah Chen story.
Yes, frankly, it made my jaw drop. It completely changed how I look at my own social media history.
It's a nightmare scenario, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's also a perfect teaching tool. It shows how the digital age has just flown past our old rule books.
So before we get to the horror stories, and trust me, we will get there, we need to
Right.
understand the rules of the road. Dr. Akbar makes a really good point right at the start.
Right. He says ethics isn't a one-and-done deal.
Wow.
You don't just get a stamp of approval and stop thinking about it.
Yeah, he has this phrase. What was it?
Complex and contextually situated, which is a bit of academic speak, I
A
know.
little bit.
But it just means real life is messy. You start interacting with actual human beings, and things get unpredictable. Ethics is about navigating that mess without hurting anyone.
Okay, so let's look at the framework for that. The source outlines what we can call the big 5 core principles. These are like the commandments for social research.
And if you knock one down, the whole thing just collapses. The first one is the absolute bedrock: informed consent.
Which seems simple, right? Do you agree to be in this study? Check a box.
It seems simple, but it's so much deeper. It's not just about the signature, it's about the informed part. Does the person actually understand what they're getting into?
So it's not enough to just hand them a 20-page document full of legal jargon.
Not at all. They need to know the risks, the benefits, and this is crucial. They need to know they have the right to withdraw at any moment.
That right to withdraw is so interesting. It means you can't trap people. Even if they've been in your study for months, if they just wake up one day and say, I'm done, you have to let them go.
Immediately, no guilt trips, no coercion, which leads right into the next two principles, which are kind of a pair: non-maleficence and beneficence.
I have to say, these always sound like something out of a wizarding textbook to me. I cast non-maleficence.
They do have a bit of that flair, don't they? They come from medical ethics. Non-maleficence is simply do no harm.
And in social research, that's not just physical harm.
Right. It's emotional, social, psychological harm. You can't re-traumatize someone just to get a good quote for your paper.
And beneficence is the other side of that coin. Not just avoiding bad stuff, but actively doing good stuff.
Yes, do good. The research should ideally provide some benefit to society or to the community you're studying. It shouldn't just be about extracting data for your own career,
Then we've got the fourth pillar, respect for persons.
which is all about autonomy, treating people as individuals with dignity, not just as, rows in a spreadsheet.
And the final one is justice, which feels like a huge concept.
It is, but here it's about fairness. It asks, who are we studying, and who is actually benefiting from it? You can't, for example, test a risky new method on a vulnerable population just to help a privileged one.
That makes perfect sense. Now, there was one point in the presentation I found really striking. It's something I hadn't connected to ethics before. He says it is unethical for a researcher to be incompetent.
I'm so glad you pulled that out. It's a profound point.
Because we usually think of incompetence as just, being bad at your job. But he frames it as a moral failure.
Well, think about it. If you're researching something sensitive, like trauma, and you don't have the skills to conduct those interviews safely, you are a danger to your participants.
You could trigger a crisis. Or you could lose sensitive data because you don't understand basic encryption.
Exactly. So your ignorance isn't an excuse, it's a violation. Competence is a moral obligation.
Speaking of safety, let's talk about the legal side. The source material is based in the UK, so we have this alphabet soup of legislation.
A little bit, yeah.
But they're not just hurdles, they're protections. The big one is UK GDPR and the Data Protection Act.
The one everyone knows from clicking, except cookies.
Right. And for researchers, the source highlights a key distinction between personal data and special category data. What's the difference there?
So personal data is the basics. Name, address, email. Special category data is the really sensitive stuff. Political opinions, religious beliefs, health records, things that can be used to discriminate against you.
The stakes are much higher.
Much higher. You need a specific legal basis to even touch that data, and the security around it has to be bulletproof.
Okay, then there's the Mental Capacity Act. This seems very specific.
It's vital. It covers people over 16 who might lack the capacity to consent, maybe from dementia or a severe learning disability. You can't just assume they're okay with it. You need a special ethics review.
Someone has to advocate for them.
Precisely. And on the other end, for kids, you have the Children Act.
Which is all about
The best interests of the child. Safeguarding is the absolute priority. The research always comes second to the kid's safety.
it's a dense web of protection, but webs can have holes, or sometimes a new technology just flies right through them.
And that brings us to the internet.
The digital Wild West. This is where we have to talk about Dr. Sarah Chen. This case study reads like a what not to do manual.
It really does. It's a classic example of following some rules on paper, but completely failing the ethical test.
So let me set the scene. Dr. Sarah Chen, a sociology professor, wants to study social media and mental health, a super relevant topic.
Absolutely. The kind of research we need.
So first, she scrapes 50,000 public posts from Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, just pulls them off the web.
Yeah.
Second, she gets 500 students for a survey, paying them with $25 gift cards.
And on the surface, that sounds pretty standard.
That's how it starts. But the consent form for the students just said social media research. Dr. Chen left out a few tiny details.
Tiny is doing a lot of work there. The source says she failed to mention the scale of it. Her team was digging through 3 years of their post history,
3 years? I mean, think about who you were 3 years ago.
and they were cataloging really sensitive information, mentions of substance use, breakups, mental health episodes. They were building these deep psychological profiles.
So you think you're just doing a survey for a gift card and suddenly a professor has a dossier on your entire digital life.
And it gets worse. She linked their usernames to their real identities. So anonymity is gone. And then, and this goes right back to your opening story, she stored this massive database on an unencrypted laptop.
Fallout was brutal. There's a student, Marcus. He's at a conference watching Dr. Chen present her findings, and he freezes.
Imagine that. He sees his own tweets on the big screen. She's analyzing his vulnerable moments in front of a room full of strangers.
He never consented to that. Then there's Jessica, who discovered they'd accessed her Instagram posts from a brief period when her account was accidentally public.
They exploited that momentary lapse.
But the part that really, the ultimate betrayal, as the source calls it, a mental health app company offers Dr. Chen $50,000 for the data set.
And she actually considers it. That's the moment where science becomes exploitation. Those students gave their data for a university study, not to be sold to a for-profit company.
A campus newspaper ran an expose, and it sparked this huge debate. This is the core of it. Dr. Chen's argument was, these posts were public. If you put it on Twitter, it's fair game.
And that is the central conflict, isn't it? The just because you can doesn't mean you should argument. And the consensus now is clear. Public does not equal ethical.
Okay, break that down. If it's public, why can't I use it?
Because context matters. When you post a TikTok about your anxiety, you're imagining an audience of your friends, your followers. You're not imagining a sociologist 3 years from now analyzing your psyche for a journal.
It's like the difference between overhearing a chat on a bus versus recording it and publishing a study on it.
Exactly. Just because you can hear it doesn't mean you have the right to use it. When Dr. Chen stripped away that context, she violated the expectation of privacy.
Which brings up power again. The source talks a lot about power and privilege. In this case, these were students.
Right. Researching your own students is so risky. There's an inherent power imbalance. If your professor asks you to join a study, can you really say no?
You worry it'll affect your grade or a recommendation letter.
Exactly. It's coercion, even if it's subtle. The consent isn't freely given.
So how do we fix that? The source introduces this concept, PPIE.
Patient and public involvement and engagement. The idea is simple. Stop treating people like lab rats and start treating them like partners.
So you design the study with people, not on them.
Yes,
Yeah.
you ask them, is this question offensive? Is this study actually useful to you? You involve them from the very beginning.
That sounds like it makes the research better, not just more ethical.
It absolutely does, and it links to this idea of reciprocity. Research shouldn't just take from a community and leave, it should give back.
Like making the final paper open access so the participants can actually read what you wrote about them.
Exactly, they helped you build the knowledge they should get to share in it.
Now, there is one area where things get a little gray. The source talks about deception.
Ah, yes, the controversial one.
It surprised me. How can you ethically lie to someone after all this talk about honesty?
It is rare, and it has to be handled with extreme care. But sometimes, if people know exactly what you're testing, they change their behavior. So you might use a cover story, but, and this is a huge but,
Yeah.
it must be justified.
Meaning?
You have to prove to an ethics board there's no other way to get the data. You have to minimize harm. And, critically, you must debrief.
You have to come clean afterwards.
Yes, you explain why you lied, what the study was really about, and you give them the chance to withdraw their data. You can't just leave them believing the lie.
Okay, we're in the home stretch now. Let's talk about what happens after the data is collected. Ethics doesn't stop there.
No, this is the data integrity phase. It's about honesty in your analysis.
So no faking the numbers.
No fabrication, no falsification. But also no cherry picking. It's unethical to only quote the participants who support your theory and ignore the ones who don't.
And when you write it up, you have to know the difference between anonymity and confidentiality. I'll admit I use those interchangeably, but the source draws a hard line.
It's a crucial distinction. Anonymity means even the researcher doesn't know who said what. It's a truly nameless survey.
Okay, so the data has no link back to a person at all.
Correct. Confidentiality is where the researcher does know who you are, but they promise to protect your identity. They use fake names. They keep the data secure.
So Dr. Sarah Chen, she failed at both.
Spectacularly. She knew who they were, so no anonymity. And she didn't protect the data, so no confidentiality. A total collapse.
It all comes back to where we started. This isn't just about filling out a form.
No. It touches everything. The topic you choose, the methods you use, even the tone of your writing. It's about recognizing you're dealing with human lives. The source calls for reflexivity.
Meaning you have to constantly check yourself.
Yes. Looking in the mirror and asking, am I doing this right? Is this fair? Am I exploiting my power here? It's a mindset, not a checklist.
So what does this mean for the listener who might not be a researcher but is definitely a data subject?
It means we need to be aware. We are all participants in this digital age. Every time we post, every time we use an app, we're creating data someone might want to study.
And that brings me to the thought I want to leave everyone with. We talked about Dr. Chen looking back 3 years.
Yeah, the digital archive.
It makes me wonder, who actually owns that version of you, the you from 3 years ago?
That is a profound question.
I mean, does the fact that I posted something when I was younger or angry or just naive give a researcher the right to analyze that person today? I'm not that person anymore, but the data says I am. Do they need consent from the me of today to study the me of yesterday?
It really challenges our idea of identity over time.
Yeah.
Ethically. You're right. We're haunting our own digital footprints. And we need to decide if we're comfortable with strangers reading our diaries from a past life just because we left them unlocked.
Something to chew on the next time you scroll past a terms and conditions box and just blindly click, I agree.
Indeed. Read the fine print.
That's it for this deep dive into the high stakes of research ethics. Thanks for listening, and stay curious.
And stay ethical.